Hello, Weekend Crafter. Welcome back to the Craft Time Studio. I'm Ange, your Weekend Crafter, and for this weekend, I'm experimenting with making bookmarks using polymer clay. If this is something that interests you, I hope that you consider liking and subscribing to the Craft Time Studio. So I honestly thought that I would never have to make a tutorial on this because it seemed so simple to make bookmarks. But I realized upon doing it that there's actually a lot of things to consider when making clay bookmarks. I'm a big book lover, so when I first thought of making polymer clay bookmarks, I wanted to find out how thin I could go because if it's too thick, it would not be good for the book spine. So what I did first was to experiment with different thickness settings on my machine. First, I set my clay roller into the number 5 setting. I pre-baked these pieces to try them on my book. As you can see, it's very bendy, so there's no concern about it breaking when it's baked properly. I placed it in between the pages of my book, and while it looks okay, I thought I could still make it thinner. My second pass was in the number 6 setting, and again, as you can see, it's very bendy and it doesn't break, even when it's very thin. When I placed it in between my book, it actually looks quite flat already. I was also thinking that at the number 6 setting, I could probably add a second layer of the design. And for my final pass, I tried rolling out my clay into the number 7 setting. As you can see, it's very thin. However, the challenge for me was avoiding air bubbles, as well as transferring my clay to the baking pan without deforming the shape because it's so thin. And of course, when it's this thin, it also burns quite easily, so that's another thing to consider as you go thinner. After experimenting with all those different thickness, I have decided to go with the number 6 setting because I was hoping to add another layer of the design on it. I used a plastic ruler to make sure that my lines were straight. I also got this rectangular shape to make an indent on the clay. And because I wanted to personalize this piece, I also used my plastic alphabet stamps. I used my debossing leaves to add some interest. But remember to please be careful in pushing down your stamps and debossers because the clay is so thin that you can actually punch straight through it. And finally, I placed a hole on top for where the string would go. What is good about this kind of bookmark is that you can make many different designs because there is a lot of surface to work with. However, it really is a bit of a challenge to work with such a thin slab. Transferring it to my baking pan has resulted to some of the pieces being deformed. By the way, I'm also doing a second, very different type of bookmark. For this, you will need a floral cutter, some garter, and a crimp connector for jewelry that will help you attach the garter to the clay piece. Because the clay part will not go inside the book, you can make it a little bit thicker. I rolled this out into the number 4 setting and then used the floral puncher. Then I placed holes on both sides of the flower before baking it. I got my garter and I attached the crimp connector. This is for both ends of the garter. Next, I got my colored jump ring and I attached this to the connector and the clay. Now this garter bookmark can go around the book, and as you can see, it won't be a problem closing your book. Since it's attached to the book, it also won't get easily misplaced. So between the two, I prefer this method of making bookmarks. I also feel it's easier to make a lot of it because you're only designing a small piece of clay. I hope that my experiments in making bookmarks is helpful. Whatever your choice may be, it really is quite fun designing your own bookmarks. Have a crafty weekend. Bye!